Hey, this is Michelle, and you're listening to Words with Michelle, the podcast, a show where I sit down and have conversations with influencers on a range of topics, anything from natural hair, employment, discrimination, food, relationships, and everything in between. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you want to send me an email, hit me up at michelle@wordsmichelle.com. Ooh, can I tell you how excited I am to post this? I spoke with Joy Brown over a month ago, a year after my friend Karen told me that I needed to speak with her. Glad I waited, because I would have missed the chance to speak to her about the glass ceiling she completely shattered. Joy Brown is the first black female conductor for Disney's The Lion King. And if that weren't impressive enough, Joy also happens to be a nurse practitioner. And can you believe that she was the first black nursing student to graduate at McMaster University? I know, right? This phenomenal woman has set triumphant milestones. In this episode, we will focus on her Lion King achievement and the path it took for her to achieve it. In a separate episode, we will speak about her experience becoming a nurse practitioner and speak about her turbulent time as a nursing student and the pain that she endured. It wasn't easy. I will keep you posted when that episode drops. So, in this episode, we start with a bit of history of Joy's interest in music, the twists and turns of her journey in music, and how she felt before and after her historic Lion King performance. Whether you're a fan of musical theater, passionate about representation, or just love hearing stories of people making history, this one episode you don't want to miss. To start the show, I asked Joy to give a brief bio. Thanks for being on the show, Joy. So I want to say thank you, Joy. Thank you so much for sitting with me and sharing your story with me. Can you just provide us with some info, or just introduce yourself to the audience?
So hi, everybody. I'm Joy Brown. Wow, what do you want to know about me? I grew up playing classical music. I was born in Montreal, moved to Hamilton. I think we were about 5 or 6, so that my dad could get a job, and grew up playing classical piano, was trained in that. Went to Mac for nursing. And apparently, found out last year that I was the first Black nursing student at my master. Yeah, so there's like a whole bunch of firsts.
Serious?
Yeah, I didn't know that until the last year. One of my clinical group peer students, she was looking at all the grad pictures and said, "Oh, you're the first Black nursing student." So there was that. And
Hey,
again, it didn't really just. But I was like, okay, right? Because I'm like, whatever. I grew up in Hamilton. There's a lot of firsts. So here's the thing with music and nursing. They have been like this for me. I wanted to be a nurse since I was 3 years old. I started playing piano since I was 4. So the two pathways have just they've gone like this the whole time. It's just that nursing has probably taken up most of my life because I think because I was told I couldn't be a musician, and I didn't I didn't see other people like me. I didn't see any other Black female pianists. If I was in the States classically, of course. And then there's like a thing that's put on you because obviously Black people, reggae, hip hop, whatever, like nobody could think that you would be formal, right? Um, because of how the system is set up to keep you down.
Mhm.
But my parents always said, nobody's gonna give you anything on a silver platter. So work hard, work hard, work hard,
Right.
work hard, work hard. But there's working hard and then there's opportunity. And that's when I hear that, when I hear people say, well, when you come to this country, you got to work hard. The people who are the poorest people work hard because they're working 2 or 3 jobs, right? But you're not working at a job that one job could provide for you. You have to be doing 2 or 3 jobs, likely with no benefit. It's about the opportunity. And when I think you're in a culture of privilege, you always have an opportunity. and no matter what it is, right? It's about opportunity because the heart, listen, if it was about working hard, slaves would have been the richest people on the planet.
Oh,
You understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's not about working hard. People are working hard. They just don't get the opportunity. So I see a lot of similarities with both lives that I've had. Where if I don't see it, I didn't see it, so I couldn't picture it. I
Yeah.
could picture myself in nursing because I knew my mom was a fantastic nurse, and there was a lot of great Black nurses and Black midwives. I could see that.
Mm.
I couldn't see it in music, even though I wanted to be a musician, a full-time musician, but I couldn't see it. And
Yeah.
so this was the safe thing to do. And I don't regret any of it because again, like I said, it's like you can't take the nursing out of me. You can't take the music out of me, right? But yeah, similar experiences. Yeah.
Okay, I want to touch upon that. Like, when did you get into music? I mean, like, it's so funny because it's like, because you said classical, and I will say that classical is not something that we had in our household. How did you, or listen to it in our household?
Yeah.
When did you get into it? How'd you get into it? Who fostered that? Like,
Well, apparently we had a piano in our house, and every time my mom would get on the phone, I'd bang on the piano and interrupt her phone call. So she put me in music lessons. This is the story she told me. I don't know if it's true, but and then I had a teacher, Mrs. Batstone. She was blind, and I was really shy. And so the only way I would play for people is if I got chocolate. She would have a little bowl of Hershey's Kisses, and so she bribed me. And but I loved it. I loved it. Music was always in my head, always in my head. Like it still is. Like I'm talking to you, there's music in my head,
wow.
constantly there. Yeah, it's weird, but it's always there.
No, that's really
Um,
cool. I mean, that means
yeah, it's
that's
it's no, it can be distracting. So
Mhm.
I tend not to listen to a lot of music. I'll listen to like talk radio or something because there's always because when you talk, it sounds like music in my head, right? So there's always there. So
Talent.
I grew up, yep, classical. Then we had moved to Jamaica for a year when I was 5, and a teacher out there. And my sister noticed, like I would ask the teacher to play my songs before I left. Not deliberately, I just want to hear what it sounded like, and she would play it, and then I wouldn't practice, and I would just go back to next week and play it. So my teacher told my mom. So my mom said to the teacher, my sister told my mom, so my mom says, teacher, don't play for her. And that was probably the best thing because then I had to learn to read music.
Um,
And it has been absolutely, that's been a diamond in my life because my skills are very valuable because I read. I can read very, very well. And especially like in what I'm doing now, you have to be able to read. There's a lot of great musicians who could play me under the table, but they grew up playing in church, very skilled, extremely skilled,
mhm.
but they can't read, and so that's another barrier. I have a friend of mine, Darren Hamilton, who he actually won a Juno Award for Educator of the Year a couple years ago, and he has his PhD in music and really trying to elevate uh, Black music in the schools, Black education in the schools, right?
Mhm.
But that's one of the big things is how do we open the doors for Black musicians? Because especially when you're going into college and universities and being able to read music is a huge thing, and it shuts out a whole just like a whole section of musicians who bring so much to the table, but because they can't do this one thing, it cuts them out, it shuts them out of work, of valuable work, right?
Why aren't people learning how to read music? That's it's
Um, I think again, because a lot of us have grown up in church, your ear is very, very good. You've never had to, I mean, you can, somebody can come, Kirk Franklin could come and our guys would just like slay the music. But when it actually comes to, if you want to get a gig and they throw a song in front of you, or like maybe it's an opera thing, like I can go into any venue, you can give me something and I can play it, right?
yeah.
I just played for juries at York last Monday. You can make money off of that, right? You can make it like it's very, very valuable, but it hasn't, I think, been a thing that parents necessarily have pushed. Um, but if you can play in church, it's great, right? And you don't need
Yeah.
music to play in church, right? You have a great air, which is obviously extremely valuable. Like you need the both, but it hasn't really been a big thing. Um, and parents want you to go into be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a this, be a that. Music, unless it's church related, sometimes I think it takes a back seat. So I think as parents, if we and as musicians, I think if we realize the value of that, maybe, we'd have more opportunities in that way. So here I am. Yeah,
Then how did you make that switch then? And the switch, it means more so in your mind because you had the love for both, obviously for
I
medicine
do. Yeah.
and for music. So then, because I guess nursing was more fostered, like even though you had barriers, how did
Yeah.
you decide to pursue music then? Like what?
I mean, I've always along the way, I think it was mostly because I started actually playing in church when I was 9 years old.
Mhm.
My mom took me to a nursing home and I played there every week from the time I was 8 until I think I was in my third year of university and I had a Thursday night course, so I could no longer go on a Thursday night. But I played in that nursing home. So it was interesting because again, health and music and just seeing how seniors are treated. What's the so it's funny when you do things in life, it's very interesting how it informs what you do and just how the two marry because I remember going into that nursing home and just the smell of urine and I remember my mom encouraging just give the seniors a hug their families a lot of people their families don't visit that was very much in my mind so even as I work with my geriatric population from those experiences I had from the time I was 8 right? It has informed how I treat my seniors, how important it is for them to have that socialization, to have that love, have that care, be treated like not be just left in a chair with vomit all over their thing. Like it's amazing. That nursing home eventually closed down because it was just really bad. But then it was basically again like a lot of people. My experience was growing up playing in church every Sunday, that type of thing. When I after I graduated from Mac, I ended up working up north in a First Nations community for 5 years. So really didn't do a lot of music there. And by that time, I had before that actually, which was a huge point in my life, um, I had gone to take my ARCT. So with the Royal Conservatory of Music, there's the grade levels in music, and so the top one is your ARCT, and you can do it in performance or teaching. I was 17, and I think at the time rules have changed a lot, but at the time I think I couldn't do my teachers until I was 18. Anyway, I did my performers, and I failed by 1 mark. Now, the significance of that is so you have to have an honors to pass.
Mhm.
I had usually you go to the Kiwanis festivals and you compete because it kind of gives you a really good idea of how you're going to do on your exams. And that year, I won the Beethoven class. So they have it's changed a lot now, but at the time you had all your technical stuff that you had to do, and then you had 5 pieces for that exam that you had to play, and your Bach and Beethoven class were the heaviest weighted
Mhm.
for the exam. I won the Beethoven class, and it was a semi-professional class. First time I think any Black person had ever won anything. I came in third in the Bach class. So I knew those 2 pieces. I was in good hands, right? I did another song, didn't do as well. I thought I played it well, but I didn't do it as well. And she raked me over the coals. But I knew going in to the exam that I was good. It was probably the first time I felt as the most comfortable. The teachers, across they kind of know the students who will do really well, the students who win didn't do well. I came home thinking I had aced it and when I got it. And the comments were like, didn't play in the style of Brahms. And the last thing was, see you when you're older. And the thing was, it's like it. So it was kind of a shock across the country because my teacher's like, that doesn't make sense. First of all, the comments didn't make sense, and
Mhm.
then the see you when you're older, definitely there was something wrong, and you don't fail somebody by 1 mark,
Oh,
right?
okay.
But that because because the only thing I felt I had control over in my life
Mhm.
was doing well in school and doing well in music, right? I felt like I had let everybody down. I felt I'd left my parents down. Like the amount, because remember now, we didn't have a lot of money. So I know the sacrifices that went through for my lessons, my theory lessons. I remember the organist at our church, he gave me lessons until he couldn't get me any further. And it was half an hour, and he would stay for an hour and a half and teach me. Like that's the kind of thing, and just charged my dad for the half an hour. So I mean, I put that pressure on myself, right? But it was the most devastating thing, so devastating to the point that I couldn't listen to classical music for about the next 5 or 6 years. I
Oh.
didn't touch the piano, couldn't do it. My teacher's like, please come back. She goes, just let's redo the exam. But I was going into nursing. I was starting nursing that next year, that fall. And I was like, no, I walked away. Like it left such a bad taste in my mouth. So I think going up north, not really being around music much. I mean, I kind of dabble a little bit, but I wrote a lot. Like I would write a lot and stuff. Um yeah, it wasn't until like years later. And then when I came back from the north and I went and did a missions thing and then kind of got involved in music, but more just on a fun level. And then when I finished with YWAM, I had heard the Toronto Mass Choir back in 92, 93 or something. I go, oh, hey, wouldn't that be really cool to play? But I ended up going to Waterloo, took music, took French, and I was like, oh, this whole classical thing again. And I was like, and then I was in a stage band and I was like, oh, this is really cool. This jazz thing is really cool. So I ended up switching over to Humber. I went to Humber for the jazz program. Yeah. And had the time of my life, had the time of my life. Graduated with the governor general board award thing, whatever, top, whatever. Had a blast. Got married and ended up playing with the Toronto Mass Choir. So had lots of fun doing that, but still never considered myself a musician.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, just could
Because
not, could
because of
not.
what happened in the
I
past.
think so. Yeah,
And
just like, no, you're not.
traumatized you.
I said, I am a person who plays very well.
Mm.
And I knew like I would consider myself a music angel, but I would not consider myself a musician. So I would say it was probably in my when I went back because then Karen Burke, who was the choir director for the Toronto Mass Choir, she had a similar background in growing up classical, and she encouraged me to go back and do my AR. She goes, "Listen, I know you're completely turned off of it. Why don't you do the one for teaching?" So I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, that sounds like a good idea because it'll just haunt you for the rest of your life, right?
Mm.
And so I went to the conservatory, met this teacher, and I played for her, and she's like, "You're not going to do the teaching." She goes, "You're going to do the performers." Now, you see how God is just like crazy because it's like, oh, we're coming back to this again, are we? Right? Because I needed to face all of that. I needed to face all of that and get that monkey off my back. 17, all that disappointment, failing. It's if I didn't do it, it was going to, because I told her what had happened. She's like, no, 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 no. You're going to do the performance. She goes, you're a performer. You're a performer. And so she worked with me, and she goes, this is like the Olympics. And it did change now where instead of doing all the technical stuff, you actually literally put on a concert. You have 6 pieces, you put on a concert. And so we started working. I loved my pieces. I think I was coming back at it more mature now, right? So it's like my life is not, everything in my life is not resting on this one thing. But as we were getting closer to the time, I started sabotaging myself, and like I can't do this, I can't. And my sister's like, no, we're not doing that. Like you've got to get this monkey off your back. And so then Boyana's like, I want you to do 3 concerts for family and friends, so that by the time you do your exam, you're just going to do a concert. So I said, okay. So I put on 3 concerts, played my pieces, and when I went and did my exam, I played my exam like it was just a thing, and I got it. I got it. Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
got it.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And I think it was after that, probably about a couple years after that, I'm like, oh, I'm a musician. And that was when the change in the brain happened.
Mm.
Actually, I'm a musician. I am a musician.
So at 17, okay, you felt I guess,
Yeah.
not, I don't want to use failure, but I guess you felt like, disappointed and whatever.
Yeah. Oh, devastated. Yeah.
So how many years later did you go back? Like, what was,
I was married by then. So, and I think 2002, 2003. Yeah. So I was like 37, 38.
okay, so 20 years, almost 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So that frame, right? That again, that like how, and I don't blame other people. Okay. So there's not going to be a blame thing. I think that had I maybe had a different, like maybe if I was one of those people who said it doesn't matter what you tell me, I'm going to go and do it anyway. I think that would have in things would have been different. But I think because I had internalized so much, and then there's the whole black thing, and then it was a very
yeah,
complex thing.
I don't think there's any, I think the way it happened is the way it's supposed to happen. I don't
Yeah,
think that, I hear what you're saying. Like if I was a different person, I didn't take this, I didn't take no for an answer. But you know what? It's all part of like your story, your journey.
yeah, it
It happened
is.
the way it's supposed to happen. Like
Yeah,
everyone's different. I mean, because when I hear you, I kind of hear myself as well, because you kind of do sabotage, because if you don't believe it, then it's
yeah,
hard to proceed, right? And
exactly,
I guess
exactly.
you were told no so many times and sabotage. So I get
Yeah,
it. It's kind of that, it's a mind game, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I understand. I was just trying to figure out the time frame, like how you got back into it. So the 20 years, and that's a long time, but you still
Long
got
time.
back into it.
Yeah,
You still, because you had it in you, right? You had it
I
in.
had it in me, and I would sit in my basement. I would sit up north, and I would write music. It was like a lot of instrumental stuff. I had my keyboard, I had my stuff. And so I would just lose myself in creating, like just creating music and whatnot. And um I think after Humber, like I was involved in doing like, they would have the big productions at church and I would do the music for that. Started playing for the choir. So that was fun. I was always in the background. I liked to be in the background. Um, in fact, my bucket list, not even my bucket list, my wish would be that when I was playing, that
Mhm.
there would be a curtain in front of me so that all you could hear was the music and
Oh,
you wouldn't know
oh,
who that was. That to me would be the ultimate, and you would just be like completely enthralled in my playing. Because for me, it was like it was the only thing creative that I could do. I can't paint, I can't knit, I can't crochet, I can't draw, I can't do any of that. I can't dance, I can't sing, but my piano playing is everything for me. And so if I'm accompanying somebody, for me, it's like I'm laying the foundation and I'm laying the framework for you to soar. And I can create, like, I feel like when I play, you should get a whole story from how I play. That's how I operate, right? So funny that though, when I met my husband, but we
mhm.
didn't know who was going to be my husband. But I remember when I was going to go to Humber, and I thought the program was at the North Campus, so I was going to stay with my sister. It was at the Lakeshore Campus, so it's like, oh, we got to get an apartment. And I remember when my sister and I went to look at it, and the South Asian man, he was a landlord. He's like, "Oh, one of your types in this building," and I'm thinking, "Was the only black guy, really?" Right? And he kept like, "Have you met your neighbor?" No, not planning on it. Blah blah blah. But I think 2 months in, he introduced me to Dell. And I remember looking at him going, I'm going to marry that guy. But if I don't marry him, he's going to make the best friend I ever had. And the first thing he looked at me, he goes, "Oh, you look like my cousin." Okay, that was it. That was it. Right.
Yeah.
But he would listen to me. He had never met me. And he would listen to me practicing next door and turn off his music and was completely in love with what was going on next door.
Hey.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, it's everything that happens frames who you are, and you can make it like even with our kids, because I remember our kids are adopted, and I remember the adoption worker, she has to go through all the things that happen to you in your life, and she's like, I remember she asked me a question. She goes, is it a scar or is it a festering wound? Right? Because she says if it's a festering wound, you haven't dealt with stuff, and it's gonna impact you.
Wait, sorry. What do you mean? What's a scar on a
So
festering?
if you go through something in your life,
Mhm.
right, that's not great. right?
Yeah.
You can heal, but there's different ways of healing, right? If
Mhm.
it's a scar, it's not going to phase you. You can talk about it. You're not going to be like, ah, right? If it's a festering wound, though, that's poisonous, right? You got to open it up. You got to lance it. You got to clean it out. You got to let it heal, right? And so, all those negative and positive, but all those negative experiences that happen to you, like, does it
Break
make
you.
you a better person, right? Does it positively impact how you deal with the world, how you deal with others, how you take it? Because you can have stuff that can freeze you. So, for instance, that what happened to me when I was 17, that froze me. That froze me for years, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what I could have done or gone on to do? I don't know. But like you said, there's a timing in everything, right? I was not in a place where I would have been able to take on something bigger because inside I was just this little kid who was a little black kid a little black girl who doesn't have a place, felt shit she didn't have a place, right? And I for years I would compare myself. I still do to a point, but it would be like every day I'm not like this person. I'm not like this person. I'm too tall. I'm too skinny. I'm too fat. I'm too this. I'm not as talented. Like every day, it's like in my head, in my head, in my head. You have to fight that, right? And I think it's just been decades of growing up and maturing, but also coming through on the other side and saying, okay, you know what? At the end of the day, my daughter, I can't remember how old she was when she made this, but look at this.
I am enough.
I'm enough to mom, right? And so that is when I was speaking with my counselor last year. Um, she's like, "You are," and she goes, "It's not even like you're more than enough. You're just enough. Like, be fine with who you are and with everything that informs who you are, right?" So this whole Lion King thing, I don't think could have happened earlier for me
Mm.
because I needed to be whole and I needed to be confident in who I am as a person, just as a woman, as a black woman, as a mom, as a wife, as a musician. I just need to be confident in who I am because then it required me now to step out of my comfort zone and do this conducting thing with a stick that I had never done. But that Sean and Jeff like, no, you can do it. And I'm like, no, because when Sean asked me, really, and in my head, I'm no. And they kept talking about it, and I just kept joking about it. And like, and I'm thinking in my head, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen until it's like, oh yeah, it's going to happen. You better go buy your baton. And then I had to say to myself, because by this time it was, I think Sean goes, I think you're going to be like the first Black woman in Canada, and I'm like, okay, but I shut all of that down
Mm.
because I thought it's fine to be the first Black woman in Canada.
Mm.
However, I better be the first Black woman in Canada who can actually conduct,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because as I said to Andrea when we did the CTV news thing, you are going to be held to a higher standard than everybody else, right? Than everybody else. When you mess up, it's going to be a bigger mess because it's going to be conceived as a bigger mess than somebody else who doesn't have this, right? So, and you have to be better than. And maybe it's a lie that we tell ourselves, but it is kind of the reality is that we have to be better than. We are expected to be better than in order to get the same acknowledgement, right? So I took it on seriously. It's like, okay, if this is something that has to happen because they were going to be away at the time, okay, all right, I need to make sure that when I get up there, I'm going to do a great job. Actually, excellent job because excellent would be considered
Actually,
great.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I thought to myself, okay, stop being stupid about this.
Mm.
Like when you became a nurse practitioner, you had to learn all these skills to become a nurse practitioner. So this is a music skill that you're going to need to have. And if you're going to go into music full time, you're going to need this anyway. So that's how I had to talk to myself. And then it was okay, lessons, and let's get going. Study the score, do all these things, practice. And I'd be there practicing. I wake up in my bed and I'd be like conducting in my sleep. And I'm like, okay, right? All of that kind of stuff. And yeah,
So
yeah,
let me ask you, Joy, like, okay, so it sounds like, okay, so you were a musician. So conducting, was this new territory for you? So this
yeah,
was something you never,
yeah,
so when they asked you to do it, had you done this before or
no,
absolutely not?
no,
Wow, so you were taking on a challenge.
yeah,
How long
yeah.
did it take you to learn how to conduct?
Oh, I'm still learning. Okay, so Sean, so I knew I was going to play in the Lion King. By this time I knew I was going to play in the Lion King, right?
Hmm.
And then he called me and he's like, okay, so like next summer, Jeff and I are going to be away. And so Murphish wants to know like what's going to happen. And we said Joy Brown. And I'm like, Joy Brown who?
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah, Joy, what? So So then I said, okay, I have to quit work because I was going to be an orchestra musician. I had just taken off a month to do an opera with Sean. And I said, I can't go back and now like go back to work and then 2 months off for full-time rehearsals because I wasn't going to be a rehearsal pianist. But I said, okay, if I'm going to do this thing, I got to know the cast. I really have to know this stuff. So I'll do the rehearsal pianist. So
Hmm.
I think I bought my baton in October. I finally bought the baton in October. And then
2024?
yeah. And then I called up Karen and I said, Karen, does York have any conducting courses? And she's like, why? I said, because I have to conduct the Lion King. she's like,
Wow.
she's like, no, 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 I'll teach you. So she set out a 6-week program.
Oh,
And
Karen
then,
Burke. Karen Burke, you
yeah,
mean?
Karen Burke,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I have to learn. And I'm not, when I'm telling you, I am not a coordinated person at all. I'm not coordinated. I'm very coordinated on the piano. Other than that, give that up. But I had to learn. So I practiced and practiced and practiced and then the music and watched Sean and watched Jeff and took it in, like, which is great because my brain, I love to learn, right? Took it in, took the feedback, took it in, practiced, studied the score, had the music in me. But I honestly, I have to tell you, I was probably going more on their confidence that I could do this
Yeah.
than my confidence that I could do it. Yeah.
Oh, but you did it. You
But I
did it.
did it. And I think it was when I had my first rehearsal, a lot of work, a lot of work. But I was getting ready ahead of schedule and they were pretty happy, very encouraging. And then of course I think the cast had started to hear about it because Sean had told them at some point. So people were coming like, we hear this is like so cool. Because by this time, I think by the time we had the opening, they had realized because they'd done all the research. So it wasn't just going to be like the first Black female in Canada, it was going to be globally. Yeah.
Oh, so it's
Disney.
global, global. It's like
Global, yeah, like in the history of Disney. Yeah, in the
history of
history of
Disney. Okay,
Disney. And
so
The Lion King is like the biggest, yeah, is biggest musical.
wow.
Yeah.
So
But I just kept that, like I just literally shut that out because to me, that's a huge weight to carry,
mm,
right? Like I get the significance of it, but it was like, I don't care. Right now, you need to be able to get up there and conduct and communicate and conduct that orchestra that night. Like you have to be able to do it. You have to be able to do it and do it expertly. So yeah,
so
yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
I love this story. How did it feel? I want all the feels. I want to know exactly how did you
How
feel?
did it feel?
How did
Okay.
you feel? That's pretty enormous.
So yeah, so I was supposed to have actually done it on because during the week it's a little less stressful. Not that there's not the same amount of people there, but it's not as big as a weekend. So
Yeah.
I was actually supposed to do it on the 26th of February, the matinee. That's how you kind of start nice and low key. And that actually would have been my dad's birthday.
Okay.
But we ended up moving it. They ended up moving it up to the Saturday. Somebody else was supposed to conduct, but they weren't going to be able to. So I went on the Saturday afternoon. So went in that day, and there was a whole bunch of noise, a whole bunch of hooting and hollering when I got there,
Mm.
and then Sean makes they makes an announcement in the back, right? So audience can't hear, but in the back behind the stage, this is like Joy's big thing, and there's screaming, just screaming happening throughout, lots of hugs and everything. Everybody was so excited. Everybody was so excited. And and they had been like the cast had crew they had been excited for weeks, like, when are you going on, when are you going on? And I'm like, oh, I'm not ready, and the orchestra's like, okay, when are you going on? I'm not ready, I'm still practicing. Well, it's about time you've done, and the drummer Wilson, he's like, at some point in time you just have to get up there. And I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. I'm still studying, so everybody else was kind of ready for this before I was. But there was so much noise and so much carrying on and hugs and the messages coming through and everything. So we started. And it was, I can't even begin to explain the feeling. I was not nervous. I was worried that I wasn't nervous, but I wasn't nervous. I
Mhm.
think they had prepped me so well. Like, I don't know how many like, we have stagger rehearsals where it's that you actually do the play but you can start and stop, right? So I'd had several of those. And I was you do a put in before. So the put in is when you actually, without the orchestra, so you'd have a piano but you actually conduct the whole play. So
Mhm.
once the show starts, then everybody who's an understudy and swings, they have to have their put in so that they can step in at any time. So it's the same
Okay.
thing for me. So it's feeling pretty comfortable. Obviously, there's things that I need to work on, but we get up there. The orchestra, just the smiles, and they made sure it was like there were no subs. Everybody who's the original orchestra, was there. I'm like, I want this person, Jeff and Devi, because we had been the rehearsal pianists. I want you guys playing that day. And then we started, and they're coming in, the cast is coming in, and as they're coming up on stage, all the bird ladies and as they come up on stage, they just looked at me and smiled, and they kept singing as they would pass. Like, everybody was acknowledging, like, you could feel the love. It was like this palpable wall. It was like this whole wall of protection around me, just the love coming up from the stage. I go to cue the musicians, and they're like big smile because they're waiting, because they know what they're doing. I don't have to do a thing, but it was like thumbs up. Every time I finish a song, I'm getting the thumbs up. Like, it was just the best. It was like the best, the best. I don't know. I don't know if if that's what support is like, it was like everybody just carried. It was huge. It was huge. And during an intermission, joy, 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 that's all playing, and they got the cake, and it was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
I can feel it actually, with the way you
Yeah.
described it, I can actually feel what it felt like.
Oh,
Yeah, I can't even come close to how you actually felt, but I can just feel it just being so supportive and so much love and so much, I mean, support is the word. It's
yeah.
just like,
The support, and just the excitement. Like, I couldn't even really get excited because they were so excited, right? So
yeah.
I could just kind of like sit back and kind of take it all in and go, cool. And
Mhm.
it still wasn't hitting me. Like, it really, it wasn't hitting me. To one of the cast, because there's always cast from South Africa in any Lion King production,
Oh yeah?
to have actors from South Africa. Yeah, because of the songs. They have all and it's huge. So we have, I think 10. I think there's 10 from South Africa that are there. They have the roles, and they're in the vocal ensemble. And I remember, one of the vocal ensembles, Zinzi, and sometimes she plays Rafiki. And she just gave me a hug, and she goes, "You don't understand how this opens up doors for us, right?" And yeah, honestly, Michelle, I can't, like, I know it's important. I don't think it still has sunk in yet.
Mm.
Still. I don't know if it will, because then life still happens. You know, you still got kids, you still got your parents, you still got this, but like, I think any opportunity to encourage. Like, I remember my son said to me, because he really wants. He's kind of been like me. I was always wanted to be a musician, and it's hard. It's hard because the celebrities out there is like less than 1%. It's like that.
True.
So I was talking to him about if you can put a roof over your head, or put some food on the table, or maybe take a trip. that's success. But he's like, he goes, Mom, I know how long you've wanted this. And he goes, and at your age, you're finally doing this. And he goes, it gives him hope, you know? And that's like that's big. That's big, you
Yeah.
know?
You have
Yeah.
opened doors. Like, like,
Yeah.
be the first one. I mean, it's a lot of pressure, and but the significance of what you did
Significance.
is
Yeah.
huge. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I mean, it may not change you, the person, but I mean, like, just it's just like it's huge. You're part of a
Yeah,
history. You know what I
it's
mean?
huge. It's huge. And I met somebody else had reached out. She's in London. She's a classical conductor. She's Black. I'm like, oh, so I want to connect with her because it's like, oh, there's somebody else. There's people in the States. There's Black classical female pianists in the States. I didn't know that. I wouldn't know that, you know?
Yeah. As I wrap up the show, Joy recalls a moment when she spoke about wanting to be in The Lion King.
To my girlfriend at work. Yeah, I saw the Lion King back in 2000 or whatever. Wish I could done it. Won't happen. Next day, Sean's like, oh, by the way, anywhere in your world you could do the Lion King. So that's how like life just kind of follows you all the way through. Had I
Wow.
not done classical, had I not been able to, had I not had this and again, the opportunity presented itself because they actually had a fantastic pianist for the Nathaniel Deck Chorale. Because I think I had the kids at the time. I told Brainerd, no, I can't play for the choir. Like it's just like, and a lot of stuff going on. And so there's another classical pianist, Joy. She's like amazing. She's Korean, just absolutely beautifully amazing. But he wanted a little bit more of a gospel feel for the recording. It's a very difficult piece. I had to learn it. You know, it's like a whole suite, Nguzo Zaba suite. I had to learn it in like a couple of weeks, and then did the recording. And but if I hadn't done that, Sean would never have heard it. And then all these things. And he's the type of person where he's like, I'm not leaving you behind. He goes, first of all, Color Purple, it's a Black female empowerment story. You're a Black female pianist. Like, that's a no-brainer, right? So you're coming. Um, and then the same thing with the opera, and then the same thing with yeah. So out of that, now they've got funding to take the opera to South Africa. So
Are you going?
because Sean will be busy, I am going to conduct that now because now I can conduct.
Holy crap, that's major.
Isn't it though? Isn't it?
It was like, how do you feel knowing this?
I'm I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's just because every day is new for me.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm walking through it. Like it was every day was new. I didn't know what to expect. So it's kind of like, okay, we'll just I'm coming along for the ride, right? And because I think with everything that's happened in my life, good or bad, I have learned to chill, not to take everything so seriously, right? Not to take myself so seriously. And if doors open, doors will open. And when doors open, you go through it and you be the best that you can be. And if a door closes, there is another door that's going to open. So you don't let that define who you are. I've it took me years to learn that, but I've learned it. And so now I can kind of just like, all right, we'll just go through. But it took years to learn it. You call for a podcast. Oh, yeah, okay. Right? Never. Like before that, are you kidding me?
But you were on TV. You were on
Yeah,
you
I know, but and I liken it to like when I do workshops. So it's even that in nursing, like I would teach workshops on chronic disease management and empathy and choices and changes, like just philosophies on how to empower people.
yeah,
I like doing that kind of thing. It's in the context of nursing, and I'm teaching doctors and other health coverage, right? So all of that now has come into where I'm comfortable. I can talk to you. I can talk to Andrew Case because she's like the coolest thing and she's so down to earth. You understand? So I
yeah.
can just like kind of chill and do that stuff. The ABC one was like a little bit overwhelming just because we had just done the CTV and then it was like ABC News thing, and I'm just
ABC
like
is in the States?
yeah, it was
I
yeah,
didn't know
it was
that.
a good morning. It was the good morning weekend. Yeah, we did that. I think it was about a week or two after, and I was
Yeah.
overwhelmed just because I've always lived in the background in my privacy, right? So then it was like, oh, wait a minute, like, no, right? And then remember our violin player and the other piano player, they're like, okay, this is not about you. So other people, so just like get a grip on your life, right? Because this is gonna inspire other people. I'm like, oh, okay, 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 right? Because I'm just like, but I want to be able to walk down the street. I just want to be able to walk down the street, go to a restaurant, drink coffee.
Okay.
I just want to,
You want to live your
and I'm
normal.
not even a social media person. It's just like, okay, well, because even the TV thing, she's like, okay, is there a website I can go on? And I'm like, no, I have old websites. It's kind of defunct. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, and I know I probably have to have a little bit of a social media person, but I'm just kind of like, I come home,
I know what it is though.
the
So
Christmas tree is down. You know what I'm saying?
you're
You gotta
about
play
the
the back.
love, the passion. It's just your life. You're not attaching it to fame and whatever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just who you are. My life
yeah.
is music, and
It's just me. It's like somebody's I had to do a master class at York the other day, and they were saying, "This is joy." And she goes, "Oh man, like I want you to play for me one day. I can have it on my resume." And I'm like, I do put on deodorant and brush my teeth, right? Like, I know, like on TV, it looks like they don't do
but you know
anything.
what it is
Like it
though,
did
and
in
I
the
guess like
start.
it's because when someone does something, and not saying that the average person doesn't do anything fantastic, but when you're acknowledged on such a public stage,
Yeah,
what you've done, to know, I mean, like, because I watch it on the news. So
yeah,
just keep in mind what happened for me. I'm sitting down watching the news, and then your name comes up, and I'm like, I feel like I know this person. Even though I didn't know, I forgot your name, to be quite honest, but
yeah, yeah,
I feel like I know her. I feel like I know her. Am I right? So I watched the piece,
yeah,
went to my text, and I saw your name, and
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I knew her. So it was amazing to know that, you did something so huge. I mean, like,
yeah,
my whole thing is I speak with change makers. I built my blog, podcast, book,
yeah.
all about change. I mean, like, it's not saying you have to do something fantastic, like,
No, but I totally get it. Yeah, I totally get it. And I think, and you know what it is too? I think because there's probably been so many firsts in my life that I didn't even really know were first.
I think so. I think
Just
so.
because of the circumstance. It's not even like I'm going to go out and I'm going to try and be the first Black nursing. I had no idea. I'm just like I got into Mac. I'm going to do my nursing and all that kind of stuff. So I think, and I think because there's been probably so many firsts of that's probably the first in Hamilton, Black female piano player winning. Now that I look back at it, but you're just kind of like it's your life and you're you're making a difference. Because I think especially with my mom, she always brought us up to just to make a difference. Period. Right? Just to to be kind and to have an influence in the daily lives of people, right?
Yeah,
and
that's
be humble through it all, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. It is cool. It's cool.
It
Like
is
sometimes
cool.
I think about it and I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And it's like when
Girl, it's cool.
yeah, my nieces and my nephews like, Auntie, we've been waiting so long for this. And then, and they're so excited. And I'm like, okay, okay. And my kids think I'm cool.
I have to say
Not.
congratulations. Like, honestly, I mean, I started off saying congratulations, but I want to say congratulations again because it's just big. It's really, really
It's big. It's big.
well, Joy. I had a bunch of questions, but everything you said was the question. So I'm leaving it like that. I just think thank you for what you've done, what
Thank
you will
you.
do. Um, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for speaking with me. Thank you for sharing your history with us. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message or share your thoughts on social media on my Instagram page at Words W Michelle, on TikTok at Words with Michelle, and my YouTube channel at Words with Michelle. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a message on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so more listeners can find the show. Until next time, bye.